industry, tea and the jokes. Actors, directors, musicians, and more. You're listening to Tremendous Talk.
Hey guys, I'm Law.
And I'm Ash, and this is a Tremendous Talk podcast.
Join us each week as we guide you through the realms of Hollywood and beyond, speaking to industry professionals in the spotlight.
So, grab a boba tea and leave your shoes at the door.
And welcome to Tremendous Talk. My name is Law. I'm a Filipino Indian-American actor, host, and filmmaker who needs to figure out his sleep schedule right now.
And I'm Ash. I'm a mixed Filipino-American musician, actor, publicist, etc., who's just trying to find her voice. Happy Asian American Pacific Islander Month, Law.
A happy Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month to you, Ash. For those who don't know, this is a month that we celebrate us, baby. A month to highlight our stories, our experiences, our journeys, and we're so excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, working in this field, we kind of do it every day, right? We're really surrounded and celebrating AAPI stories every single day. But this month, we get to do it just with a little bit more love. And we get to highlight all these AAPI businesses and creators and more. Yeah, just a little extra spotlight.
Yeah, give a little bit of love to all the people that need it. And I'm very proud. I hope you're feeling proud this month.
Oh, I don't know if we're allowed to cuss on this podcast, but I'm going to say... yeah.
All right. Nice. I'm happy to hear that. Let's roll right into what we're obsessed with this week, because I've got a strong AAPI contender, or at least an Asian contender at the top. I watched Polite Society. It's a South Asian family film that meets with like Scott Pilgrim and martial arts. It's really beautiful. They fight in Lankas and like the villain is so good. There's such cool like title cards. Like it really gave me such a fun time at the theater. And it's South Asians, like South Asian women leads. The sisters are so good. Priya Kansara, you guys are gonna want to remember that name. She's insanely talented, and I got to do like a little bit of a stunt experience with a couple of the stunt coordinators, and I got to talk to Priya, and it was very, very cool. Highly recommend that. I'm very proud that that's out. But yeah, that's like something that I'm watching. What are you watching these days, Ash?
Oh gosh, I think I just need comfort right now. I've had such a crazy week. I haven't been really like watching any TV or movies, but I have been watching like When Foodie Calls, little like YouTube videos of people eating Disneyland food.
Yeah.
But it's specifically Tim Chantarangsu and David So, and just watching their like talking back and forth and just eating food is
they're also so funny, right? Like both of them.
Dude, yeah.
Insanely funny. David and Tim, you're going to be on this podcast. We're going to make it happen.
Oh, yes. I think we are connected, so we could probably make that happen. That'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Okay, and Law, speaking of food,
yes.
What are you eating?
Oh, man, you know what? It's been a budget month for your boy, and I've been eating a lot of Spam. I've been eating a lot of Spam and Spam silog, which is just, rice and egg with Spam. But honestly, some of the most comforting food that I could eat is just like so perfect. Like a nice fried like slice of Spam on some white rice. Like it's kind of unbeatable. So it's sticking to my Pinoy roots in that sense. But eating a lot of Spam, saving some money. You eating anything exciting these days?
Well, speaking of Spam, the other day I was at Costco Business with my mom, and I look to my right, and I see this giant stack of Spam.
Yes.
Like, huge. And I'm like, we're winning. We're winning.
It's so funny. I always joke that I would love to be like the spokesmodel or the spokesman for Spam.
Spam's person? Spam's model?
You know what? I think I'm going to leave the podcast.
Bye.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
But for me, in terms of food, again, with my busy week, I wanted something that made me feel safe and comforted again. So I've been eating straight. Whenever I have a stressful week, I always am like, time to get Zen curry. And I get level 6 spicy steamed tofu vegetable curry every time. And it's delicious. And
Level 6 out of how many levels are we talking?
10. I get like a 6 or 7.
Okay.
What's your spice level, by the way? What do you like?
All right. I know I just shouted out my Indians and my South Asians, but I also apologize because your boy cannot do heat very well these days. I used to be a big heat guy. Like, I would try to eat like the spicy wings because I actually get that like euphoric high when I eat too spicy. But like my age, acid reflux, like it's just not vibing these days. So my spice level is a nice little mild. It's just gotta taste good.
You know what? You can taste all the flavors still, so it's still nice.
Yes, 100%.
Wait, can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for.
Oh, good point. Yes. Yes, this is a storytelling podcast. So last week on Friday, me, Jeremiah, and Gabby, my coworkers at Tremendous, and my boss at Tremendous, we went to go eat food because everybody was in Vegas for CinemaCon. So we eat at this Thai restaurant, right? And they ask what level of spice we want from like 1 to 10. And I'm like, let's get a 5. I'm going to take it easy today. And so at the table where I asked Jeremiah, how's your spice doing? And I think everybody at the table got like a 4 or 5. And he's like, oh, it's good. I can really taste the spice in this. It's nice. And then subconsciously, without even recognizing, I have opened the spice canister on the table and am shoveling more like hot sauce and chili sauce onto my food.
Sheesh.
And my coworker is just staring at me like, what is wrong with you? So even subconsciously, I think it's a safe space for me to feel spicy a little bit.
A spice queen, if we
Spice
will.
queen.
If you guys are good, maybe we'll make some spice eating content. You know, spicy cuisines from across Asia. And we try it all.
Cut to you crying and sweating.
I'll show you guys some clips at some point. I have multiple clips where I eat something spicy and it don't do well. If I ever get on Hot Ones, it's gonna be a bad time.
What if
Sean
we
Evans
did
hit me up?
Hot Ones, but Asian. So we're eating like, I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking like, what is that? Like mandu? You know, like dumplings?
Yeah.
Or yeah. Well, all right. We're going to brainstorm another time, but here's a little tease for you guys. This is how we work. This is like how our meetings work. We're just like, what if we did this? That's a good idea. Write it down. Anything else that you want to, I was going to say, anything else you want to shout out? I mean.
Well, I just wanted to ask you how jury duty's going.
Oh, no, I don't. So I don't have jury duty, luckily. But there's a show called Jury Duty. And it's on Freevee, and it's very much like the Truman Show. Like, everyone's an actor except for one guy
I hate
on this jury.
Oh, this makes me
Doing
nervous.
jury duty. James Marsden's in it. Lisa Gilroy's in it. I think James Marsden plays himself.
Oh, my God.
So, apparently it's really good, and I've been recommended that, and I know that I'm going to start that soon.
Oh, that sounds great. The Truman Show really messed me up in the head. I like those shows, though, that they kind of like haunt you for years afterwards.
Yeah, 100%. Just like the idea of it is really scary, but
I'm glad you're watching Jury Duty and you don't have jury duty. That's a lot better.
Yeah, thank you, government. I don't want to go back to jury duty.
Can I update you on something that I did last week that made me really happy?
Yes.
Okay, so we worked on CinemaCon for a joyride with Lionsgate, and it went really, really, really well, and it was a fun time. However, I want to talk about something that like made my heart sore. So I think you know this. I don't know if you know this, but I love the retro and vintage community. Like, I dress in retro, vintage style clothing all the time. I used to work at a pinup boutique. Like, I model for pinup stores and stuff like that. Like, I love it. I love it. However, there's a significant lack of representation that I've seen in the past, right? But in working with Tremendous and kind of connecting to the AAPI community more, I've started to meet more like AAPI pinup models and getting to know the diverse an inclusive community within that kind of sort of vintage vibe and vintage aesthetic. And last week, I was able to be an AAPI model on the freaking runway at Viva Las Vegas.
Holy crap, that's amazing.
It was really cool. So Viva Las Vegas is the world's largest rockabilly convention, or whatever it is. It's like a huge convention where like pinup models and people who love vintage fashion and everything come. They listen to old school music for a whole weekend. They like do Lindy Bop and stuff or whatever it is, and they support businesses that are there and stuff. But it was so cool to be on stage, and the whole, like, all of the designers were people of color and all the other models were people of color, and I got to walk with several other different like AAPI people, and like there were AAPI people doing burlesque and stuff. It was so dope to have this sort of like disconnect from this community, and then to come back and see it full of inclusion and representation now. It was so freaking cool, dude. So cool.
That's awesome. What a big win for you. That's like that's got to feel pretty full circle.
It does. It does feel full circle.
In a way.
But I mean, honestly, what a big win for us at the same time. Like,
yeah.
Out there.
Yeah. Any win is big for the community in the sense of like exposure, right?
Yeah.
Like someone will see you and be like, oh my God, that's me. You know, that's pretty awesome. Congratulations. That's huge.
It was fun.
It's like, sounds like a convention. I'm a big convention goer. And I just love like the niche kind of conventions and shows that people have like that, you know?
Hold on. Wait, speaking of conventions and niches, I saw this video of you this morning at the Renaissance Fair.
Oh, yeah. Guys, I love the Ren Fair, but it gets wild out in the Ren Fair. I love it though. Check out my socials at Law J Sharma and see what Ash is alluding to, but it's a little not safe for work.
It's like, I saw this at 7 a.m. I was like, this is really early to be getting this content right now. Speaking of spicy
Surprise. For real, yeah. Whole different vibe over on my Instagram.
I feel like if the Ren Fair had an OnlyFans, that video would be on it.
Oh, 100%. There's if you listen to it with audio, you'll get it. But that's all I'll say because we want to keep this podcast family friendly.
Yes. Law, tell me about what you've been up to.
I've been really lucky. I've been going to just like a bunch of random events, just keeping very busy. I saw like Return of the Jedi in theaters for the first time, which was amazing to do. I brought my lightsaber. I also did a couple junkets. I did one for What's Love Got to Do with It, which was like an Pakistani-based rom-com with Lily James. I did a junket for Guardians of the Galaxy recently. Amazing. And so, yeah, it's been good. I've been trying to keep busy, auditioning, but just hanging in there, loving doing the podcast stuff. How about you? I know CinemaCon must have been crazy, but you're alive, so that's good.
Yeah, it took me a couple of days to not, like, I had to get back to reality, but it's been good, just busy and good. But I think I've just been so stoked, honestly, to talk to Dana today. And so whenever she hops on, I know I'm just going to geek out. So sorry in advance if I completely geek out about this.
Oh my God, I talked about spam on the episode that we have a Pasifika guest. That wasn't planned. That's my bad. But that's my bad.
I mean, no.
But I'm really excited to meet Dana. You kind of introduced me to Dana in terms of like in concept, in like an introduction. I hadn't heard of her before, and like seeing you so excited makes me excited for this episode.
Yeah. Dana Ledoux Miller. Dana Ledoux Miller is an absolute force, y'all. From graduating the Academy for Creative Media at the University of Hawaii at Manoa, working on Narcos, The Newsroom, Thai Cave Rescue, and the recently announced Moana live action film. Dana just loves to tell stories. She's worked as an executive producer, showrunner, writer, and even in craft service and PA. And her love for entertainment just shines through everything she does. And today we're so happy to chat with her through her journey. To be honest, y'all, I am kind of like a fangirl, and Dana's one of my personal role models. So please enjoy this conversation with one of my favorite showrunners, Dana Ledoux Miller.
Woohoo! Welcome to Tremendous Talk.
You're the best type person ever, Ashley. Thank you so much.
No, okay.
Thank you for having me.
Let's just hop right into it. Sorry, La, I know we had an intro question, but I just have to say, working with you on Thai Cave Rescue was like oddly a milestone in my career, because seeing you voice just the whole interaction that we had, and we don't have to say like who it is or anything because I don't want to put them on the spot, but and just seeing you stand up for your community and everything, that one moment, dude, has changed the way I interact in every single room I'm in. So thank you so much for that.
Wow. Well, thank you. I mean, just to speak to that, there's a lot of talk. It's AAPI month, and it's a really important month for representation for the Asian Pacific community. And what we're talking about is there's a moment where we were in API space where I really felt like not only were the Pacific Islanders being erased, we were also kind of being, our one presentation in that space was kind of being mocked or made light of. And I just really felt like this is a space that's supposed to be celebrating us. And not only do we have very little representation here, the representation we do have is a joke. And I was like, not on my watch, not today. But yeah, it was so nice to meet you at that and to get to know you over the last couple of months. And I'm so impressed by the work Tremendous is doing and excited that you all.
Aw, that makes me so happy to hear. Thank you so much. And it's so ironic because last night I had to send a very scary text message to someone in the AAPI community as well. But it was one of those things where I had to, we spend every single moment of our days kind of standing up for our community and for other people's, but when it comes to standing up for myself, I think I don't do it that well. And I had to send this text message and I was like, okay, what would Dana do? What would Dana do? I sent it.
And she sent it. And we haven't looked at the response yet. So that's good.
No, I've turned off
baby steps. Baby steps.
Yeah, no, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
It's tough to stand up for yourself. I'm not good at it. I don't feel like it's a learning process. I mean, I think a lot of us in the community have been made to feel like, we shouldn't speak up for ourselves, or that we should just be happy to be in any space. And I try to advocate for that for others, but it's not always easy to do it for yourself.
It's terrifying. It's like my body feels on fire. But I wanted to ask, you're a parent now, right?
Yes, I have 2 kids, 6 and 3.
6 and 3. Wow. So
yes,
in your experience, you entered the industry not being a parent, and now you are a parent, and I'm sure that's changed so many ways that you kind of look at the world. But I learned to not voice from my parents' experience, right? Like my mom was an immigrant. She survived by not sharing her voice. Have you, as a mother now in the industry, has that kind of pushed you to speak your voice more, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've grown up a lot since I started, and I started working as a set PA right out of film school, and I really didn't understand, or I didn't really believe that I could do anything within the business. Like, I don't come from a film family, and so there was a lot of like learning that had to happen on the fly, and I think because of that, I let a lot of things happen that shouldn't probably have happened to me or around me. And I worked myself to the bone, as a lot of us do in this business. Being a parent has made me have, I don't know what we can say on this podcast, less resources for the BS that we have to deal with. Like, I don't have time to deal with nonsense anymore. It's like, I want to be around my kids. I want to see my kids, but I also want to have this career. So I don't let as much slide. Like, I don't let people treat me poorly or not respect my time in a way that I kind of used to let a lot slide. But also I want my kids to walk into rooms and feel differently about their presence there. I want them to be more confident and to take more ownership. I grew up, my dad is Samoan, and he didn't really make learning about culture, language, a priority in our lives. And so I've also spent a lot of my adult life, and in this business, it's really helped me as a storyteller explore what it means to me to be someone. And so that's changed a lot of my perspective about the stories I want to tell, and also like given me kind of a fire to help other Pacific Islanders get in there and start telling their stories, because we don't have a lot of advocates within the business. And so if I can do anything to help that, maybe that's the mom in me that wants to just like get all the little baby PIs out there telling their stories.
That's the dream, right? Like you said something interesting.
Yeah.
Ash and I are both mixed race, so we have our own identity crises when it comes to connecting.
Oh, it's a joy, right?
Yeah, right. So it's there's definitely a journey there. But for me, you mentioned it, and I'm just kind of curious when it comes to the representation of Pacific Islanders, of Pasifika. What projects or shows do you think do it well? Do you feel like, oh, this is my culture on the screen, or does that just not exist for you?
That's a great question. I think we're in process right now. I think the work coming out of Aotearoa is really important. They just have a different film culture there and a different ability to get things financed, which is still flawed and still growing. But like, I think there's a lot of projects that come out of New Zealand that I closely identify with. And I think right now we're in Hollywood, in the United States, we're kind of like on the precipice of having stories get out there that feel like seeing ourselves on the screen. For me, Moana was the first thing that I really watched, and on like a really big scale. Obviously, I mean, it's Disney and it's an animated film, and the whole world watched it. And I remember sitting in the theater, and I was actually 6 months pregnant with my first kid. I didn't know. I didn't find out the gender. I didn't know anything, and I was just sitting there, and like the first words are Samoan being sung, and there's this chant, and I just like instantly started crying, because I was like, oh my God, like this kid, whoever this kid is going to enter a world that's different than the one like 2 days ago. You know, like the world is different and the possibilities are different. You know, and I think that there's some people within the Pacific community who struggle with Moana and don't see themselves in that. But I also see the value of a story that big being told on that scale, and the opportunities that it creates for more stories to be told. Like it creates a shorthand for the people that buy movies and buy TV to go, you know, like this is you know, a real life version of what Moana is. Like I can, and it just like makes creation easier in a business that needs touchstones. So I think there's a lot coming out. I'm very excited about Next Goal Wins, which I haven't seen yet. Which is Taika Waititi's movie about the American Samoan soccer team. And you know, because it's not just the stories being told, it's the actors that get jobs and new opportunities and directors, you know, it all changes. Like every little show or film that comes out makes more possible. That was a long answer.
No, it was a wonderful answer, and we appreciate it. I mean, I was telling Ash about this, but at another company that I went to last AAPI Heritage Month, we didn't do enough to represent the Pacific Islanders section of the AAPI. And I got DMs of being like, how come you didn't include more of this? Or like, even Taika Waititi's big. And like, it broke my heart, because I was like, dang, I thought I was doing enough. But, you know, like, there's still, like you said, there's still so much work to be done and exposure to be had. And yeah, we'll definitely appreciate your insight on all this right now.
Don't be too hard on yourself. AAPI is a vast, I mean, it's not a designation that we created for ourselves.
Sure.
And it's putting so many different people groups together that have disparate histories and experiences and all of these things. And so, you know, it's tricky.
Absolutely.
Representation is complicated and hard, and we're doing our best.
I wanted to, speaking about representation, and I don't want to, when I talk to you via email or whatever it may be, you are just this like beacon of what it means to kind of speak for people and representation, doing it in such a way that highlights everybody. Does that ever feel, I mean, of course it feels tiring. Like, how do you navigate that, man? It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
I never set out to be the person talking about these things all the time. I've been so fortunate in my career to have been working in television for 10 years and to now have a feature career. And through that, I've seen how many people don't have opportunities. And I am also very aware that as a mixed race person, I can get into spaces that non-mixed PIs can't get into. And so I definitely feel the responsibility to open that, like once I'm in a door, to keep it open and try to get more people in behind me. Because, you know, Pacific Islanders, we're built on community.
Yeah.
We're built, I mean, that is the fundamental, you know, like social structure that we have, and family and all that is so important that, like, it didn't really occur to me to not want to help my community. But now that I'm, you know, working in this space a little more formally, you know, I co-founded PEAK, Pacific Entertainment Advancement Committee, last year, which is a nonprofit dedicated to creating opportunities and resources for Pacific Islanders trying to work in entertainment, but also like as a resource for studios who need to do better at representation. And part of the reason we started that is because we had so many people in every May so upset about feeling erased from AAPI month. And so we were like, oh, we're just going to do this thing and it's going to help build community. And then you get in it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so complicated and so involved. And there's so many politics and there's so many egos. And when money's involved, it just changes everything. And so the long answer is it is a lot of work that I didn't necessarily think about before I got into this. But now that I'm here, I'm like, well, we got to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm hopefully helping create space for more people to rise up and take the mantle. Like, in no way do I ever want to be considered the voice of Pacific Islanders. Like, I'm one voice of many. But I also feel like I have this opportunity right now. So I'm going to do whatever I can while I can, and hopefully others will join me.
It's got to be a daunting sense of duty, but, like, you know, people like us benefit from these actions and from the conversations that you're having. So I'm curious. I have a couple friends from Hawaii, and, like, watching them kind of go, you know, I met them in San Francisco. I have some in LA, and watching them kind of transition from an island life to the LA culture shock of the industry was really interesting. And I'm wondering, what was your journey like when you first came over and saw California, saw LA, saw Hollywood?
I grew up in Long Beach, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm
there
a
you
Long
go.
Beach girl. I grew up where all the Samoans are. But then I went to Hawaii.
Oh, you went to Hawaii.
And I went to school there. But I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't grow up in Hollywood. And, you know, when I went to, it actually has a new name now. School of Cinematic Arts at Manoa, I think. When I was going there, it was only a few years old, and they were really focused on, you know, building skills in film and creating space for Pacific Islanders and locals in Hawaii to learn how to, you know, handle a camera and tell stories. And we made short films that went to film festivals. We weren't talking at the time about what it meant to come to Hollywood and to come work in the business. And yeah, I was totally unprepared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to get an agent. I didn't know how to do anything. I was working as a set PA. I was really fortunate in that I was working as a set PA in Hawaii, and then I came to the California and just kept working. But, like, I thought I was going to be an indie writer, director, and go to Sundance. You know, that was my dream. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And I got really, really fortunate in that I was in the right space at the right time, and, like, took ownership of what I wanted in a moment that changed my life and helped me get going on this writing career. But if that hadn't happened, I'd probably be an assistant director right now, which wouldn't be which is not a terrible job. I love all of my AD friends, but like, I didn't have the skill set or the knowledge in how to come to LA and make a career as a writer or a director. And I see that happening a lot from people who come from Hawaii. And that's part of why I've talked to people at UH, like, if you know people that are coming over, feel free to, connect them with me, because I don't want anyone else to feel as lost as I did.
Wow. And to know that you you're actually living every film kid's dream in this crazy sense, right? We're all we go to film school and we're like, I'm going to be a showrunner. I'm going to be a PA. And then I'm somehow going to be a showrunner one day. And it's real. You did it. You actually did the thing that we all tell our parents we're going to do. It's so wild. And do you think you said you didn't know what you were doing, you weren't prepared for it. Do you think that naivete, or that just the not knowing and being new to everything, do you think that actually kind of pushed you further into it without being so jaded about stuff?
Oh look, I'm as jaded as the next person, but for different reasons probably. It made me work harder, I think. My dad's a longshoreman. My mom worked for a doctor for a long time. I know how hard that they work. I was taught that hard work can get you places. And I think that kind of the not knowing what I felt like I was supposed to know, I came up with my peers who had all graduated from Harvard they were going to be comedy writers, or they went to USC film school. So they knew people and they knew how to do the work. And because I didn't have that, I felt like I had something to prove. And so that just made me want to know more, want to work harder, figure it out on my own so that I could compete, really, only to get in rooms and be like, oh, we're all the same. You went to Harvard, you went to USC, but now we're all here, and I got here anyway. So anything's possible.
Wow, that's so wild. It's just such. I can't even wrap my mind around it because it's so incredible, this journey, and then just being in the room with these people to realize there's no difference at all between any.
No. We're the same. I mean, yeah, did they have different connections that got them different places? I mean, I don't want to diminish talent,
sure,
or that those people didn't also work hard, but our starting lines were different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, completely.
Oh, we still ended up at the
Can we just list out all these people? Let's just put them on blast. I did just as good as you, and I didn't start where you started.
Oh my gosh. And then speaking of hard work, you are a writer, and the strike that's happening now, how do you feel about it?
I'm wearing strike blue right now.
Yes.
No, I'm happy to talk about the writer's strike. I was yesterday was the first day on the picket line. I was out there for 4 hours walking around. Like I said, my dad's a longshoreman, so I grew up in a union family, and I've seen the power of what a strike can do over the years. And, but I have lived so many of the things that we were fighting for, both the benefits from the last strike. I was a story editor on Narcos season 1. And when we started that writer's room, Netflix was still saying that they weren't, they were a low budget. Streamers weren't under the NBA for the Writers Guild. And so we were making a third of what guild minimums were at the time. Wow. And the writers' room crossed over May 1st. And so the new contracts kicked in while we were in the room. And my pay tripled. Wow. From 1 week to the next, because we were suddenly under the NBA. And you think about Netflix now, I mean, Narcos was a huge hit for them. Yeah. And at the time when we started, we weren't guild covered. And so that's all thanks to the writers that came before me, and for them having the foresight to see that streaming was going to be a big deal and they were going to take over. And so I've lived that. And then I've also I came back and I was a showrunner for Netflix last year, and because of the way the NBAs are structured now, and the way showrunners have to work, showrunning is the absolute hardest job I have ever done. It is a 24-hour-a-day job for years, and you're managing hundreds of people. You have so much responsibility. Millions and millions of dollars are on your back. And yet when it all broke down, I was making about the same I made as a story editor on the newsroom.
What?
Because over time, the amount of time you spend and the amount of hours you work, the money, they say now it's 24% of showrunners are working for guild minimums. And that was me.
That's actually insane.
10 years later, that's why we're out on the line. That's one of the reasons. And also because the studios want to diminish the writers' room. They don't want to hire as many writers. They want us to be freelance. They don't want to have writers' rooms. And not only is it unsustainable and insulting as a writer and as a craft, and for all that we have to do, it's not just sitting and typing at your computer, it's producing, it's creating something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. But the writing's on the wall, and that changing the way writers' rooms are and diminishing the number of writers is going to hurt writers of color more than anyone else. Yeah. We know that to be true. If you have a smaller room, the diversity hires are the first to go. And so they're the first to not get more opportunities. We're just starting to make inroads for writers of color and diverse and other diversity groups. And yet what, you're going to say that you only get 3 writers or 1 writer in the room? The writers who have been working for 20 years are going to get those jobs. And those are not historically people of color. And so we have to fight for ourselves and fight for that space, protect ourselves.
There's so much at stake with these strikes, right? And I wonder, since we're on the topic, I wonder if we could get your opinion on the AI clause that got denied in negotiations. Oh. Let's talk about it, because I haven't gotten to talk to a writer about AI yet, and this sounds like a perfect opportunity.
I think it's really telling that the conversation about Chat GPT took over the internet right as the Writers Guild was starting to go into negotiations with the studios. To me, it felt like, because, the studios also owned by these massive tech companies who, are making these AI. So it's a huge conversation, and it's very telling that was one of the things that they refused to discuss. I actually, my co-showrunner on Thai Cave Rescue just wrote an amazing column that I hope gets published somewhere about this fight not just being about writers trying to protect writing with AI, but it's also about the future of human work, and that we're kind of the canary in the coal mine here, because it's not just writers that are going to be affected by this. Like, already they're putting scripts into machines to do VFX viz, so it's creating the images, that's taking out artist jobs. It's going to affect, advertising, so many implications for this that we can't even really fully understand yet. And so we have to stand up against it. And it's like, sure, maybe there's some shows where an AI formula can be dropped in and you can make some kind of procedural and it'll work. But true creation can't be done by a machine. And also, again, another thing that's going to disproportionately, machines are racist. Facial recognition proved that, right? Because all the data that's input, we found out that facial recognition was, racist. And so how are we we're going to put in all the scripts around time from all time that have traditionally been not about marginalized people groups, and then try to get them to regenerate stories? How is that not going to disproportionately affect people of color? It absolutely will.
That's a really good point.
I got a soapbox, guys. I got a soapbox.
This is your soapbox. Tremendous talk. We'll give you more soapboxes.
Take the mic.
I'll be back there making it out of plywood. I don't care.
On this episode of just voicing, being a voice
Trauma
in the
talk.
Community, and trauma talk. On this episode of Trauma Talk,
that's what it is.
It's so crazy that everything as a writer, you're just constantly like, you are the voice for these people. You are like the person who is able to tell these stories. You are the only, like, it's frustrating.
It's so frustrating.
And you know, for like Ash and I, you know, we're getting auditions where it's just like, well, this doesn't seem like a real Filipino man or Indian man. You know what I mean? Like, this is an interesting thing. Oh, so you want the accent on this one? Okay, interesting. And so it's so important that we keep the right people in the rooms, and that's kind of, it's so discouraging also to hear kind of like what you've experienced. I hope there's big change coming. I've seen a lot of support on the picket lines as of yesterday, and today is going strong as well. So definitely,
I'm going to leave here and head out.
Oh, amazing. You just created this like Pasifika writers room too. You're seeing the needs in Hollywood and you're going directly, I see something that we're missing. I'm going to create that thing. Like, you're giving these people opportunities like that.
That's the dream. I mean, that's really what I hope for next. I mean, I have some projects in development that are about Pacific Islanders and in ways that really do try to counteract the narratives that we've seen so far. I mean, White Lotus was a hit show for HBO and people loved it, but that first season, I think they were trying to say something about Pacific Islanders, but in the end, the first local character, ended up being kind of a punchline, and then the second ended up stealing.
Yeah.
So, you know, essentially otherwise, and then there was like the one guy in the canoe who couldn't be on the canoe because he was drunk. Like, how is that not perpetuating stereotypes about us in our own space? And I get that it was like, you know, satire about the wealthy and the rich, but like, you came into one of our spaces and erased us and didn't give us anyone to really tell our story. So I've had enough of that.
It's so funny. I joke with my friends that my least favorite genre that I still watch is white people with money. It's like Succession, great show. I think it's written super well, but I don't really enjoy watching it, but I'm watching it because everyone's talking about it. White Lotus season 1, I was like, this is kind of messed up, no? like we're focusing on the wrong people here, no? All the BIPOC people are getting, getting shafted. I have a random question, but I know people who believe in karma. I'm a big believer in like the ebbs and flows of life, but when things are discouraging or even when you find success, whether it's success or disappointment in this industry, what is kind of like your motto that keeps you going? Do you have a motto? Do you have a mantra that empowers you?
Ooh. I don't really have anything specific, and it's probably changed over time. I think one thing that I've really been thinking about lately is just this idea that, if you don't speak up for yourself, no one else will. And I think that's especially true for women and people of color. And look, I've been in a lot of spaces here where, as a woman specifically, speaking up for myself was very overtly deemed hostile. And as a writer, and you know what? Enough. Like, I'm just done with that. And so I think that's helped me continue to speak up. I also am a really big advocate of just like I'm learning to say what I want out loud. 'Cause like, that's something that I didn't grow up really like feeling was possible. Mm-hmm. And in this business especially, there's a lot of people who are unafraid to say what they want, and because they say it out loud, they get it. And I was like, oh, that's how it works. Like, nobody can read my mind and know that that's what I want, or and you just kind of like put that out in the universe, and it does make a big difference, and we're allowed to want things.
Period. Yeah, we're allowed to want
Period.
things.
We're allowed to want things.
Love
Why
that.
did everything you just said gave me such anxiety? So
Yeah,
scared.
exactly.
I'm so terrified. Like, as a woman in the industry, in entertainment, whatever thing you may be in, we're taught literally the opposite of that. So hearing you just say it out loud, my heart is like racing and I'm getting like palpitations. It's so frightening, like going against the grain and kind of pushing back on things. But as a woman, you're, and I'm so privileged and lucky to be able to ask you this question too. Like, I have this crazy dream of also being a showrunner or an EP or just being in a position of power to be able to, like you said, literally like shove the door open and like go like this and just keep on shoveling more people through the door. But how you have a family while doing it. And I think the story that we get told as women is that if you have a family, your entertainment career is essentially over. So can you tell me how you kind of navigated through that, or because I would love, like, I'm recently married and having a child is such like a big deal to me, but time and time again I just see like, oh, okay, can't do it, might as well throw that dream away.
I mean, it's definitely possible, but it's not easy, and I think that whole you can have everything feels like a lie. I am super fortunate. I have an incredibly supportive partner who is, who shows up for the kids and for me always. And so when my life is crazy or I have to travel, he doesn't hesitate to step in and encourage me to go. I went to Thailand for 9 weeks. I think I set out to go for 5 weeks. And once I was there, I realized the importance of staying longer. And I called him and he was like, without hesitation, yes, you need to stay. This is important. I've got it back here. And like, so for me, I feel without him, I really don't know how I would navigate it. But yeah, when I first decided to have a kid, I specifically took the job on Designated Survivor because I knew it was going to be like 20 episodes and would allow me to work long enough to save enough money that I could hopefully, if I had a kid, either take time off or like take care of that kid. And I was very fortunate in that I got pregnant at the beginning of that, and I gave birth to my son, I think, the last week of the writer's room.
Wow.
Of production. Yeah, so it was
Good
like
timing, Dana.
Like a year. I mean, look, I know that that's not the norm, and people really struggle with that. I got very fortunate, but like, you have to think about that. We don't have like a lot of parental protections. I tell writers, especially just starting out, like, save your money because the way this business is going, you just don't know if you'll work again. After my first job, it took me a year to get another job.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I had saved money because I wouldn't have made it otherwise. But it takes thinking, like I had my second kid and I was like 7 months pregnant and I was getting a job offer and like they didn't really want to give it to me because they knew I was going to have to leave, and so I ended up not taking the job. It didn't seem worth it. And then lockdown happened. It seemed fortuitous that I didn't take that job and got to be with my kid during such a stressful time. But I say all that not to say that it's not possible, but like it still hasn't been made easy. I think there's an extra amount of work that we have to put in on something that's already difficult and emotional to try to figure out how to make it happen. But I also think that attitudes are starting to change and that, there's communities that will help you, when you decide to make it happen, you let me know and we'll figure out a way to like make it all work. It's a long game.
Yeah. And
you shouldn't sacrifice what you really want in your life for the job, I think.
Wow. Thank you for that truth and that honesty. I really appreciate that.
It really aligns. Like we had a guest on recently and his name is Josh Dela Cruz. He's the host of Blues Clues right now. But he...
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know.
Wonderful guy.
I don't know him. We watch it.
Well, he said something about like, work hard. You can work hard. And if you love it, like it'll be hard, but you know you can work hard, so keep doing it. And it's just like that hit me like a ton of bricks. What you're saying hits me like a ton of bricks. This industry is not easy, and you've made that clearer than anything today, and we appreciate that. No, but when things get rough, when things are so depleting, and there's so many doors that shut in your face, I wonder for you, how do you recharge your mana? How do you bounce back?
Ooh, I have a great community. I have a manager who has, I was not very long ago 1,000% crying on my bathroom floor and called him, and I was so disappointed. Like, look, I'm writing a huge movie. I had my own show. I still get rejected all the time, and sometimes it's really, really hard. Because you care so much and you put so much time and effort into trying to create something, and then people are like very dismissive about it, and you're like, am I worth anything? But like people like his name is Jermaine Johnson. He's at 3 Yards. He's changed my life. And then I also have friends that community is important to me, and having those people that I can also like reframe situations with, it's like, it's easy to feel like you get rejected by someone at some studio or something, and that is like, it's easy to feel like that is who you are. And so then to like turn around and go, okay, wait, is this reality? Am I really this terrible? Is the work really this bad? Or is this just the wrong moment for that with the wrong person? And like, so I think having people who can kind of reflect back for you, who you are is super helpful. Plus, I go to a lot of therapy, and that helps.
Therapy is sick. We love therapy here.
We love that over here, yes.
On Thursdays, our podcast is called Tremendous Therapy Talk. It's not. It's not. Don't expect that.
Yes, if you can afford a therapist in this business, I feel like it should be like your agent, your lawyer, your therapist. It should be on your payroll.
That's amazing.
Manager.
Funny enough, we've had a little bit of a recurring theme on the importance of community. So, I mean, maybe we should look into that at some point.
Yeah, people keep talking about that. What is that?
Turns out when you're all by yourself, you can tell yourself very, very false narratives that can tear you down.
Oh, preach.
Stay away from yourself. On the other.
Oh my gosh, that's the most real thing that's been said ever to me. I'm just gonna journal on that later real quick. Pivoting really quick, I have to ask you the dumbest question that I could ever ask you.
Go for it.
As someone who's lived in Hawaii, as someone who likes pizza, how do you feel about the pineapple pizza situation?
Oh. No, I mean, look, did I eat it as a child sometimes? Yes, it happened. I can't deny it. But not in my house. We will never.
No! I'm actually shocked. I don't know why. That was one of those stupid stereotypes you were talking about. I was like, oh, she's gotta love pineapple, right?
Warm pineapple on cheese? Like, with like tomato sauce? I don't understand.
When you put it that way, you make a strong argument.
No. I'm a pepperoni girl.
Hey, we all love some pepperoni. Oh, you're in LA right now, right? Like,
I am.
Have you had Prince Street Pizza? It's from New York originally, but they just opened one out in LA. Oh,
so I have something very sad to report. I'm gluten-free. And so there's many, many delicious pizzas in my life that I will never be able to partake. But Kizana, excellent gluten-free pizza. Prime Pizza LA, fantastic.
All right, shouting out these pizza places, gluten-free audience.
Yeah.
Not by choice.
I'm vegan. I can't eat any pizza, so I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Kizana, vegan pizza.
Oh, what? Okay.
I hear it's quite good.
I'll write that down.
This is becoming our last episode. We had like a little section on vegan food, on vegan Filipino food.
It's my secret agenda.
Vegan Filipino food.
Yeah.
I have an agenda with everybody. Like, this is the only thing I actually want to talk about. Okay, Dana, really quick. While we joked earlier that we wanted to give you the mic, but like for real now, we want to give you an opportunity. We have this really, really amazing platform, and we get to speak to such amazing people. And I want to kind of give you the mic, like stand on your soapbox and say whatever you want to say. Like, what would you say to the audience?
I've started to do a lot of work within the Pasifika community, and that includes Polynesian, Micronesian, and Melanesian peoples throughout Oceania. And we're a very small minority amongst many minorities. And even within the Pacific Islander community, we're often there's certain groups that get more attention, and Native Hawaiians, Maoris, Samoans, Tongans, they're kind of in the forefront of people's minds, but there's so many more people. And I just want to encourage my community to embrace each other. And we're very opinionated peoples, and we have, a history of coming from isolated villages, and sometimes, we don't always get along, but I think that is something that's going to prevent us from moving forward and telling bigger and better stories in this community. I really want to encourage us to just like hold hands across the ocean and support each other. I'm not to say that there aren't lots of people doing that, but I think we're often told as minority groups that there's only space for one of us, or if there's a space for anyone at all. And I don't believe that narrative. And if we believe that ourselves, then we're putting ourselves in a box that isn't necessarily real or true. And so I want to encourage the Pacific Islanders, especially, that there's space for all of us, and that helping each other is what's going to help carve out that space. And I want us to be a bigger community that uplifts instead of tears down.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. It's like the idea of like we're all separated by land, connected by water. I've always loved that idea,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'll scratch your back, you'll scratch ours, kind of thing. But speaking of scratching backs, thank you for scratching ours and going on our podcast. We really,
Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
yeah, we really appreciate the time. I know it's like a really turbulent time. You're writing, there's a strike happening, you're a mom, so there's plenty of other things you could be doing. So the fact that you spent your morning with us means the world to me, and I know to Ash, because she's look at that big smile. That makes me so happy. But thank you for your time today. Ash, anything you want to add before we say goodbye?
Just thank you. So Dana, we do a takeaway section after, and I got some strong things to say. Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I'm gonna go hit the picket line.
Yes. Jeez, man. You know what I appreciated the most? Like, our last episode was so hopeful, and it like reignited. I don't know if we'll release this in order, but when we talked to Josh De La Cruz, there was a sense of falling back in love with the entertainment industry, right? And when you fall back in love with something, there's this like euphoric feeling, and you kind of there's like you're wearing rose-colored glasses in a way. But I think, gosh, this talk with Dana was so real and
Very
so
real.
Honest, and so it was just the straight up truth. And I think that is something that is so rare to see and to hear in our industry. Like, how many times do we get to hear like the nitty gritty straight up, like, one, this is how it really is, but two, I started out in craft services and as a PA, and now I'm a showrunner, and it can be real, but it's not going to be fucking easy.
Yeah.
And wow, just hearing that in such an honest sense was like so beautiful. What about you, La?
100%. I think you just nailed it for me. Like what you just said, like Josh's episode was all the inspiring, wonderful things that you want to believe about the industry. And Dana's episode it's not really the antithesis, obviously, because there's still so much hopeful stuff in her journey, but you see just how many extra hoops we need to jump through as BIPOC people, right? Or in her case, BIPOC and a female, a filmmaker out in this industry. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine, and her point was just like, you can name Spielberg and Tarantino and, you know, and J.J. Abrams, name 5 women at that scale directing right now. And you can name people like Chloe Zhao, you know, or Greta Gerwig, or I think I messed up her name even, but like, but the idea is that it's not as easy because they've been silenced for however long. Our history doesn't have a lot of female filmmakers because they just haven't been around or amplified. So it is really inspiring to talk to someone who got to see all those changes and found a way to break through and found those doors that she's holding open for others. Really inspiring. I loved everything she had to say about the strike and why it matters and why
Yes.
we should all care. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, unless you're like a studio executive, you probably want to support this strike. let's be real.
But without writers, nothing moves forward. Nothing happens without writers.
Absolutely. Like, it all starts on the page, and you could be a genius and a visionary and have an idea for what kind of movie you want to make, but without a writer in that room to tell you how to get there, it's just talk. And so that's that was a really powerful, for me, it was just a powerful conversation because it was so real. And that was my big takeaway.
It's so rare that I get to ask these kinds of questions to people because, Law, I don't know if you know this, but I have real strong baby fever. Like, I'm so excited to like start a family and have a family, and I'm not anytime soon, but I've just been in this world of like researching all of these things and talking to people, and any single time I get to talk to somebody about what it's like to have a family in the entertainment industry,
doing it, yeah,
it's you get so many different answers, but I think just the fact that she's a showrunner and she's doing this is so awesome. It's so freaking cool to see, and it's so fantastic. And I think also her just saying, like, again, it's possible, but it's not easy. I just also, Law, you know what song is like stuck in my head right now? I don't know.
What?
I forget who it's by. My husband's going to be so mad that I forget who it's by, but it's Break On Through to the Other Side. Break on through to the other side. It's all I'm thinking about because we're just like tearing walls down.
That's by The Doors.
Oh, I'm such a jerk for not knowing that.
No, but that totally works with the theme. We were talking about communities opening doors, breaking on through to the other side. That's the going on the playlist for the day.
Oh, well, should we have a Tremendous Talk playlist and
We
put
should.
like Ivy of Spades and Break On Through?
Yeah, everything that we talk about, we'll just put into a big playlist.
That's a good
But-
idea.
Let's wrap with this, Asha. What are you grateful for today? You know, like let's end with some gratitude. I'm very grateful for that conversation, but let's end on a nice positive note before we say goodbye to our listeners. What are you grateful for?
I love this. This makes me happy. I think I'm just honestly grateful to be in a space where we get to talk to our heroes. How lucky are we, dude? Like, we get to be in spaces. I emailed her. Like, we've met in person once, and it's just crazy that we're in these spaces where people are able to have these conversations, and we're accessible to people, and people are accessible to us. And how lucky are we to have that wall be just a little bit thinner?
Yeah, absolutely. That's I mean, how lucky are we? Sometimes I see the emails come in with the people that we're talking to get on this podcast, and I'm just like, wow, they're responding. You know what I mean? You guys have no idea how long I've been working in a job like this industry, and reaching out to people. You just don't get responses. You don't get answers. You get ghosted, like straight up. You get ghosted. You don't even get in the room. You know what I mean? So the fact that we're here, we're doing it, and honestly, the best part of the job like this, and I've said it before, I'll say it again till I die, is basically you get to say thank you to your heroes. You get to say thank you and show your admiration to people that change your life for the better, you know? And for me, I'm really grateful for that too. And I'm really grateful for you, Ash. Like, I'm glad that you, one, loved all of Dana's work, and it was nice to see you so full of joy today. But I know I couldn't do this podcast without you. So I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for you and Gabby for holding down the fort. And yeah, it's been a good morning, and I feel like my mana's recharged. You know what I mean?
Yay!
In a good way.
Aw.
Like, yeah. So
That makes
I'm
me
feeling
happy.
pretty good.
I'm
Yeah.
feeling good too. I'm very grateful for you too, La.
You know why? Because we're tremendous.
You're tremendous.
We are tremendous. That's it. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on Tremendous Talk. My name is Law,
I'm Ash.
and we'll see you next time.
The Tremendous Talk podcast is produced by Lawrence Sharma, Ashley Rapuano Sanchez, Gabriela David, Joseph Garalde, and Jeremiah Abraham in collaboration with Tremendous. The Tremendous Talk podcast jingle is by Jared Sanchez and Ashley Rapuano Sanchez, produced at Amsterdam Records.